Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Code and Coffee Show. In Code and Coffee Show, we talk about two most important things about for every developer. So it's about coffee because it's the more important, right? Well, exactly,
Yes.
and about code because code. I mean, there is this AI for some reason. It will write code for us, and we can focus only on drinking coffee soon. I really hope so, and that's why today we will talk about what wonders can AI do. That's why together with me I have Cassidy Williams, and Cassidy is a CTO at Contenda. She's also a startup advisor, investor, developer experience expert, and a meme maker on the internet. She's really great at it. She enjoys building mechanical keyboards, playing music, and teaching in her free time. And that's why she's here because it means that she has a bit of free time, right?
So much free time. Yeah.
So much free time. That's great. I'm kind of jealous. So tell me, are you a coffee drinker? Because this was one of the questions that I said to everyone that today we will discover: is Cassidy more of an espresso drinker or a filter coffee drinker?
I am a tea drinker, actually. I know. I know. Please keep me on the show. I'm sorry. I I love tea so much more than coffee, but I'm willing to experiment, but it's kind of tea all the way for me, I admit.
And which type of tea do you prefer? Because I won't lie, I also like tea.
So it kind of depends on my mood because the overwhelming answer is bubble tea, which I don't know if that should really count because that's like sugar in a cup. But I'm doing tea in the morning. My favorite lately has been a vanilla black tea. And then
Mm.
if I don't want too much caffeine, I'll do a vanilla rooibos tea. I really like vanilla in general. And then if I want more of like less vanilla, I'll go with an oolong tea. Um,
Mhm.
and I also like different green teas. Recently I've gotten really into teas. There's a local tea shop near my home, and they let us sample different teas whenever we buy new teas there. And I recently got it's like a Brazilian lime green tea that was really really tasty.
That really sounds nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's refreshing.
I kind of get get the experience. I mean, I almost do the same in every coffee shop. I just try to try
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
is possible, and that's why I very easily become friends with those people. It's also kind of a mutual agreement because I also hope that they will give me some samples of.
Exactly.
So yeah, because sometimes they have a package of coffee that is not yet opened, and I am here, so maybe just for me, I would love to try it because I am here, and I fully understand it. So, and also it's quite easy to become friends with people at specialty coffee places. I mean, they are so happy that when I come in, I kind of speak their language. It's kind of like we developers have. We don't like to talk with people with marketing when they don't have a clue about about what we are talking. But when they know our stuff, it's much better.
Like
And
I
the
can
same.
gab with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And exactly the same happens in every specialty coffee place. When I start, hi, I just heard about this coffee, and what do you think about it? And from word to word, I'm sampling coffee after coffee, and my hands start to shake. But it was great. It was worth it in every case. So yeah, and for example, right now I have this
Oh, you've got
pot
a whole
of.
carafe there. Dang.
Yeah, of course. It's a full chemex of Rwanda coffee, so
Ooh,
it's
cool.
it tastes fruity, and with like many of those filter coffees, some of them have this tea-like taste. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and I've had teas like that too, where there's like traces of coffee tastes in them too.
yeah, because I'm not a big fan of, for example, espressos, because they are sometimes just too
Mm.
much at once. And some of those filter coffees are really so light, like tea. So they this is something example. So yeah, and I mean, so for today, I should just kind of rename our logo Code and Coffee and Tea, right?
Yeah,
Show,
exactly.
show.
Perfect.
I will think about this next time.
Okay.
So before we go into AI, yeah, running this show requires some money. So, but luckily I have a very gracious sponsor, and the next 20 seconds are on them.
Insta's application hosting simplifies the work of modern web developers. With just a few steps to get your app up and running with performance backed by the fastest Google C2 machines, Kinsta has built a development platform designed to get your applications in front of users as quick as possible. Test Kinsta's application hosting for yourself at kinsta.com. The first $20 are on us.
And we're
Thanks,
back.
Kinsta.
Yes, they are really nice. Not only they pay for this show, they also pay me each month. So I'm very happy with them. They are really the best company I could work at. So, and this part wasn't an ad. This was just an honest review of the workplace. So it's even better. Yeah. So today we want to talk a bit about AI, because you are a CTO at Contenda, and once I had the chance to see a demo of Contenda, and until today I'm totally mind blown with the effects. And so tell us a bit about it, how it works, and later on we'll dig deeper. How?
Sure. And so, at a very high level, Contenda is a platform that creates content from your existing content. And so, if you, for example, have a live stream like this one, you can take the video and then we can transform it to get highlight clips from it. We can create blog posts based on it. We could make short form threads like Twitter threads based on it, that sort of thing. And we're oriented particularly around technical content. And so if, for example, I said, let's install React into this repository, it would actually put in the code sample npm install React or whatever, and it would output that. And that is the high level what Contenda does.
Yeah, and I remember, because Lily, when she showed me the demo, I remember that she converted one of my webinars that I did about the Drupal, if I remember. And when I saw the article, I thought, yeah, I mean, I need like additional 10 minutes to polish it up, and I can publish the article. So when comparing with the fact how I love writing articles, I don't like. So having to spend 10 minutes versus almost infinity, because I would try to do everything else, not to write it, it was like totally amazing. And it really dealt amazingly with developer focused content, which is kind of difficult, I think, because it's the additional layer. And this is the question: how do you learn Contenda to deal with our strange language, and especially that our language has many variations, right? Because there are so many languages, so many, like, everything. So
yeah, and so we have multiple layers of data science and machine learning happening on top of it. We have some really awesome data science and NLP specialists, NLP as in natural language processing, on our team, where they just focus specifically on training data and improving our responses to technical content. Where if you tried our models initially over a year ago, you'd probably see a lot of Node.js instead of Node.js. And they're able to say, like, okay, Node.js is Node.js. We just got to make that connection. And it's something that has taken some time to train and learn, and we've done training exercises and stuff actually at the office where we'll say like, okay, this snippet is good, this one should probably not be good, and stuff where we can offer some human perspectives on it. And that's just kind of how we've trained it. And we took the technical angle because it is really hard, where you could probably go anywhere and pass a YouTube video or something into some kind of AI tool and it would spit out a transcript of some kind. But to get a technically accurate summary and turned into a blog post, something that like an agency might create, where very similarly you'll get a blog post and then you might have to tweak it for your voice and then ship it. We want it to be that for technical content.
Yeah. So in short, it required also a lot of like manual work to learn it, right?
Yeah, lots of human training as well.
Yeah, because I really can imagine that with all those languages and everything, it wasn't easy. And was there any particular language or something with which you had some more problems than with others?
So far, no. But I need to like knock on wood and hope that we don't run into too many issues. So far, luckily, we've been pretty good on the language front, just because it's not just like, well, hopefully the people who work at Contenda know languages other than like JavaScript, Python, and like C#, and they can speak more to other languages. There's more data that comes in from other directions, where we'll have to say like, we've seen a lot of, for example, it'll say like E2E tests or P2P tests or something like that, or P2P protocols. And we'll have to say like, okay, we need to make sure it knows how to shorten that and stuff. And so those little things are manual. And so we train on blog posts that people pass in to us. We've trained on a bunch of different data that people have said, hey, actually, if you want to train this video, these are blog posts that I've written before, and that actually helps us to get a more accurate picture. And we probably won't do that forever just because that doesn't really scale to say like, hey, could we also scrape your blog too? And people going, yeah, go for it. We're probably not going to be able to do that forever. But what we plan on doing is, as the platform becomes more self-serve, we're working on an API, for example, where someone can just do a post request with a YouTube clip and then it'll generate the content instead of you talking to us about it. We're hoping that as you say, this part is good, this part is not good, we can learn from it and then not have to do as much manual work. It'll just train the model better and better.
I understand. So how are you trying to make it scale? Because as you said, right now, there is a quite big part of this manual work, like scraping and fixing. But how are you moving towards maybe not total automation, but
well, ultimately, it would be sick to do total automation, and I think that is the ultimate goal. And so, with our software, honestly, the model has been pretty dang awesome for a while now, where we've been really, really happy with it. But the actual process of putting content through the model has been manual. And so what would happen, which what we did with your content and what we've done with a lot of people, is we'll say, okay, if you would like us to transform your video, send it to us. And then we put it through the model, and then the model spits it out in a text blob that we put into a Google Doc, and then we mail back to you or email back to you. And we're like, okay, enjoy. And like, that's how it's been, where the AI is doing the work. We truly just do the copy and paste of like the URL and then the copy and paste of the output. But that's, again, not scalable for the users that we want to bring into the platform. So enter our API that we're working on, and hopefully will be released soon. I'm going to leave it at that. With our API, what we want to do is be able to offer options where, let's just say you just want to integrate it into your own workflows, which a lot of technical content creators kind of have their own workflows, where we've talked with people saying, if you could give me an API, I could put it in like my Notion workflow I've built where all of the output just goes in one place, that kind of stuff. So we want to make it where you can, again, pass some kind of YouTube link to the API. Once you call it, it's got to do some processing depending on how long the video is and stuff, because the longer the video, the longer it'll take to process. Have some webhooks around it so that way there can be automations. And then when you get the output, you can say where you want that output to go, whether it's in a Google Doc, a Notion doc, a GitHub repo, something like that. And so that's one angle. And then the other angle is an actual front end platform where you could do the same thing. It basically is just a UI on top of the API. And then what you could do is you could say, okay, this paragraph I actually want to regenerate. This heading I want to change the text for. And for us, we can use that as training data saying, oh, they didn't like this paragraph. We'll update the model a little bit, or they edited this, we'll update the model. But then you can also export it right there in the user interface.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it would be really great to have an API for it. And so
yeah,
when do you think the beta will be?
Hopefully. So we're hoping that the beta could be done within the next week. It actually is working pretty well now, but you got to do some testing internally before the world starts testing it. And so we're hoping that we can get early beta stuff done this week and next week. And then we're going to do more broader launches in the next month or two.
Okay. And I remember, and this was kind of the thing that surprised me a bit, that Contenda loves to have camera because it uses the emotions, right? For better
sentiment and everything. Yeah.
And
it's kind of just, it's cool to see all of the different things that you can learn from in a particular video. And so, for example, let's just say you wanted to get highlight clips from this stream or from any video that you want in there. You can get sentiment in general about what someone is talking about or how excited they are from the word choice that they're using, like the transcript that comes from the video, or if they seem really excited or things like that. And so by having a camera on in that video, we can learn from that and generate better results from that.
Yeah, because I remember that in some article it was pointed out the difference without the camera, that the results were just worse. I don't remember by how many percent, but I remember that there was a difference. So
yeah, the machine knows.
The machine knows. Yeah, kind of scary, but cool on the other hand. Yeah, and the thing that also interests me about it is where we can already see Contenda in the wild, because let's be honest, Contenda isn't at the moment this famous brand yet.
It is not.
But it's already in the wild, and many of us may already read something generated by.
Yeah.
So where can we find it?
And that is a good question, because I don't have any links on hand, but people have published blog posts that we have generated and tweet threads that we have generated. And actually, I think the easiest thing to find is Devs for Ukraine. So Devs for Ukraine was a conference that I organized last year to benefit Ukraine when all of the stuff was happening. And so if you go to the Devs for Ukraine Twitter account, which I'm pretty sure it's just at Devs for Ukraine, every Twitter thread and content on there was generated by Contenda. And so all of the highlight clips from each of the talks, all of the talk summaries, there's some post-conference summaries on that. Those are all Contenda generated. And the model has even gotten better since then, because that was April last year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Time
back then,
flies.
so
oh my gosh.
Time flies. So I mean, I really can't wait to see the difference. I mean, I would really love to at some point just regenerate the same article that I had last time with about Drupal, and see what would be the effects right now. And
well, and because it's not deterministic, it'll never be the same. And so you could pass in the same video multiple times, and it'll always be a different article, and it'll just tweak things here and there, because that's just how the nature of the beast is.
Oh yeah. But still, during this time, I remember that it was during summer holidays last year, so it was more than half of a year. So probably the model really.
Yeah, there's probably some improvements that have happened.
Yeah, and I don't know. Could you show us some examples how it work and
Yeah. I pulled up a video, and so when I look over here, this is my screen that I'm about to share. So we pulled out I was looking at this one video that it's actually not as technical. This was one from a VC company talking about just like building your own startup. And
Okay.
I can show you in theory. And this is like very early days for our user interface. I just shared the screen.
Okay,
Okay.
it's here.
So
Yeah.
front end built by yours truly. But we took a YouTube video that was called From Concept to Capital, presented by Contrary, and it's how to build your own startup. And this is the blog post that it generated. And so you can kind of go through and see like, okay, when it comes to startup, you want to make not everyone sign NDAs or something like that. And then you could be like, actually, you know, we might want to change this heading right here. And so I could say like the 3 components of a successful startup. We'll just shorten that heading right there. And so it updates it on the side. I could click over here and scroll up and say, actually, I am interested in entrepreneurship, and I also love to drink coffee and tea or something like that. And that can update the segment. So as you make these light little updates, it's not a full text editor, but it's a light one where as you make changes, it can make tweaks, and you could say, actually, I want to rearrange these paragraphs. So you see that little slant as I dragged it?
Yes, of
That was a
course.
pain to implement. Um, but you can do little things like that as you want to rearrange things, and it'll rearrange stuff on the side. Right now, this all just says body because this is a blog of a lot of text. But
Mhm.
when you have code samples or images or something like that on the side, it will take care of those as well. And so you could say, oh, actually, I want to add another heading right here and say like entrepreneurship or something like that. Now you have another heading. And then again, the more when you make the edits, it's just kind of based on block or segment. And then from there, that again trains the model and improves your post overall. And this one I haven't actually hooked up to the user interface yet. But let's just say you didn't like this paragraph right here. You could click this regenerate text button, and what it would do is it would query the API and then regenerate this entire paragraph at this timestamp in the model, and you would get a new paragraph from that. And so once again, that button is not hooked up yet because I have to do it, but that's what it works on. And similarly, you could add another text block and then say like, wow, this was really cool or whatever, and suddenly you have more text there.
And if probably not right now, but if we'll edit something, will you also try to teach the model that this should be
Yes.
the way?
Mhm. Yeah, and so what we're hoping to do, again, this is very early days, but what we're hoping to do is be able to have little indicators on the text, like highlights and stuff, where it could be like, this is a key phrase. If is this is something that you specifically said, this is something that the paragraph was based on. You could be like, this is a key word that you seem to use throughout. And let's just say someone's name is misspelled. You could say, hey, I want this person's name to have an extra R in it or something. It could change in one paragraph and then change throughout the rest of the post and that sort of thing. And so the more of those kinds of editing features are coming. It's just again early days, and I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. And so I haven't implemented everything yet.
I mean, I can already tell that the feature of this changing after fixing one place, it would be something amazing for me, because I know in how many ways each transcripting software always makes a mistake with my name.
Yeah.
I mean, the most popular is that I'm just magic, which is kind of nice. It's magical, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
It's
cool
quite cool.
actually.
but still it should be a bit different. So so having such a feature that would really learn like all the time and fix everything all the time, really amazing. And tell me, what are the plans for the futures, apart from, of course, making everything work, having the UI and
Actually launching all of that.
yeah, because that's true. Contenda is kind of behind the contact form. You have to
yeah, again, we and that's because we had to do the contact form thing because we've had so many people interested in actually using it. But again, our process is kind of manual right now, where you have to talk to us, send us the video, we press the button. Even though the AI does all of the hard work, it's still a lot of like manual copying and pasting. We just couldn't keep up. And so that's why we're trying to get this self-serve stuff out the door. And what we would love to do is, first of all, with our API, the API is going to be the powerhouse that integrates with everything, where we want it to be able to make webhooks so easy to use that we could make quick Discord bots with it, or where you could make mini versions of the Contenda product where you're just like, I just want clips regularly whenever I automatically upload a VOD from Twitch. Then great, we can make that sort of thing happen. We want to make it so you can have Chrome extensions and all kinds of stuff, just so the API can be in the hands of users who know how to use APIs and want to build automations with them. And then we also want to be able to integrate with CMS platforms in the future, where you could have, like, for example, a video passed in somewhere and then it could output into a blog post on Prismic, let's just say. And then when you do that, then you can edit it in Prismic or whatever, have some kind of integration because they've got an API, we can make that happen. Then just automatically make that go onto your blog. And that's just one CMS example. There's so many out there in the world, so many integrations to build. I think those are the first early steps, where once everything is more stable and self-serve, that we want to build integrations with places where you're already creating content.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, because when we started talking about this, no one was even talking about the Chat GPT that just
I know. Yeah,
broke.
it's exploded.
And we talked, we will talk about AI, we will talk about Contenda because it's a cool topic, and it's
Sure.
not so popular. And I mean, it's a bit popular, but I think that we were during the phase of DALI and everyone, let's say,
Mid-Journey and all of the
painting
generation.
digitally, but that's it. And like right now, AI just exploded. I mean, every time when I ask someone
hype train.
for an advice, I hear, did you ask the Chat GPT about it? I'm like, no, I'm asking you because I want your answer, not some kind of outdated, because it's kind of outdated. It only has data. I don't know, some like,
the accuracy is I could rant about this. I'll try not to go full on rant, but on the plus side, what was kind of cool is that ChatGPT and some of these new advancements and stuff didn't actually improve our models that much, because we don't do prompt engineering. And so with ChatGPT, with DALI, with Midjourney, with all of these different generative AI platforms that have come out, it's very oriented around prompt engineering, which, for those who don't know what that is where you kind of engineer, for lack of a better word, a prompt, where you kind of continue to mess with a prompt until you can get the AI to give you the results that you want. And you might be adding funky keywords here and there, changing the order, or finding synonyms and stuff, so that you can get the results that you want. And so many of the AI platforms out there are based on that, where Copy AI or Jasper, or once again, ChatGPT, all of these, they rely on you giving a good enough prompt for them to generate something from nothing based on that prompt. With our platform, we don't do any prompt engineering whatsoever, because we're basing it on the content that you've already made. And I think that is the main difference, because in basing everything on content that exists rather than you making up something, we don't have to deal with misinformation or the ethics of an AI that suddenly is quoting a study that doesn't exist, even though the professor exists, but they never did that study or something like that. Where I've seen so many times with ChatGPT, I've seen a thread where this PhD person will say, I decided to make up a phenomenon that doesn't exist in my field, but it sounds like it exists, just to see what it would come up with. And it'll spit out a whole research paper quoting people that this PhD professor knows, and saying like, this is scary because it looks so real. And if I were to make something up, it would seem so real, but it isn't. It's a lie.
Mhm.
And that's something that we really care about in what we're building. We want this to be an ethical AI company that only makes things that are as true as possible. And by having a source of truth, which again is the content that you've already made, we don't have to make stuff up to fill in the blanks.
Mhm. So, so even if the model is learning based on every article, it doesn't kind of reuse the exact knowledge from one article in the others. So there is no problem with like breaking some licenses or.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have like lawyers on the scene to be like, we want to make sure you own your content that you are
Mhm.
uploading to the platform, so that we're not just making blog posts based on other people's videos that you don't necessarily own and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because this is kind of the problem that that Copilot ran
Yeah.
into, and while I must say that Copilot is amazing because it is, and also. Did you saw this website GitHub Next when they show some experiments based on Copilot? So
Right.
there are
Yeah.
two. One is the code brushes, which is less interesting. I mean, it just kind of reworks the code with some style. Let's say it explains the code in a simpler way or something like this. But the second one is an engine that lets you a bot that lets you talk with the AI to write code. Something just perfect for people with some disabilities or mostly with disabilities, because right now, like talking to computer to write code was kind of annoying because it had to be like very direct.
Yeah.
Just add this, add that, and thanks to Copilot, you could just I need a loop from this to this, and in the middle it should do this, and it will take care of it because Copilot has a lot of knowledge, and this is an amazing way to use it. But on the other hand, it's amazing, it's helpful. But what about the licenses? This is still kind of
Ethically
a.
questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really must admit that for a long time I really did not understood why in IT and in other technical branches there was people related to ethics. For me, it was at some point it was, but why? But the more we go into all those
It's more
AI, into
obvious.
automations, yeah, we start to. I start to understand why it should be like one of the most important people behind the thing, because uh, okay, Contenda probably won't have a chance to kill anyone with the content.
That would be great.
We
I
That
would
would be
like
great.
for that not to be an issue very
But a
dearly.
Tesla, but a Tesla with it automatic driving, there have to be an algorithm who to kill first, whom to save,
Oh gosh.
and
Yeah. It's
and there
scary
has
to
to be
think about stuff like that.
I mean, can you imagine writing this if statement? I don't know if a
No.
level of danger. Yeah, it was like it just totally. I mean, this was something that for many years only game dev could write, but it was only in the virtual world. And right now we are taking everything into the real world, and it's becomes Yeah,
The
it's
real
scary.
world implications are scary. And I actually spoke on a podcast recently where the host was just like, there's a lot of like ethical issues, but if you just kind of let these companies fail, then, people won't trust it as much anymore and it'll be okay. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Where like you did the extreme example of Tesla crashing into someone, but there's so many other things where an output could just be a really harmful sentence that is
Mhm.
very untrue, but it like confirms certain biases and causes certain decisions and that sort of thing. And I think we have to remember that AI is a tool that is supposed to help humans do their existing work better, and there needs to be ethical rules and regulations in place so that people don't take it and run with it in the wrong direction. Because if you think of it as a tool that helps people do their jobs better, it's kind of like when construction equipment became more motorized and stuff. Like I don't know if there were any people who were just like, no, the crane is going to lift all of these heavy rocks and we won't be able to do our jobs anymore because we're supposed to lift the heavy rocks. No, now because the crane is lifting the very, very heavy equipment, the humans can do other things that don't involve hurting their bodies because they're lifting heavy equipment. And I like to think of AI in this direction because if we use it in a good way that helps us learn better, that helps us write code better, even AlphaGo, where I really like playing Go, the black and white pieces on the grid game. I love that. I will never be as good as that bot is because it has just learned from thousands and thousands and thousands of games that like no human could do. But humans learned a ton from the bot, and
Mhm.
now humans are playing better and playing different moves that uh, professionals are, at least. I don't know about me. The where they are able to get to that next level because the tool is able to teach them something. I started taking Go lessons and I was talking to my teacher about it, and she was showing me this sequence of moves, and she said for over 400 years everyone knew if you play in this corner this is what you do. This is just how it works. When AlphaGo made this move and it was truly just moving a stone like one space over, everybody was just like, AI is dumb. Why would they do this? This was such a dumb move. Everyone knows that isn't the right move. But then, like 3 moves later, they said, wait, that's genius. And literally 8 years ago, this sequence of moves that had been set in stone by professionals for more than 400 years, it changed their minds. And suddenly people are thinking about how to play certain moves differently. And that's a very silly example because it's a game, but I think that could be applied to so many things in our world where if AI is done correctly, it could help us think better and apply problem solving a lot better. And we just have to make sure the guardrails are in place so that way it's us taking suggestions and learning from it and stuff and not fully relying on it to make decisions that might be questionable.
Mhm. And out of curiosity, in which ways in Contenda do you try to make it ethical? Where are the biggest dangers? Because
Yeah. So we have a combination of strategies which when how we create content. And the two main strategies in our process are generation and evaluation. And oh,
we're
hello?
back. Yes, we're back. Something
Okay.
happened. Okay, we're back.
Things happen. Technology's
Things
scary.
happen. Exactly.
Um what was I saying? Okay, generation and evaluation. Those are our two main stages of our process. And generation is very much like what you see, as we've seen from like chat GPT examples and stuff. We are built with open AI for parts of our models to generate technical content. And open AI uses a lot of technical content in some of their models. And so that's kind of like native to the internet. We're able to do that generation part in that first step. But then the secret sauce for us is evaluation. And I think that's where the ethical implications are better. And then also just our outputs are better. Where, for example, like Stack Overflow banned GPT generated answers because they look correct, but they're actually very deeply wrong. And that's because GPT learns patterns and it's really good at seeming right. And so we evaluate the input, that original source of truth, and the output, which is that generated content, and train a model to identify the accuracy of the output based on that
Mhm.
input. And so we use reinforcement learning by generating multiple outputs and then kind of grading them. And then that evaluation model feeds back into the generation as a separate pipeline. And then that also will go into the platform and the UX to collect data on the platform. And so that evaluation piece is what we are, again, our secret sauce. That's what we completely built in-house and that we are working on to make it so things are as accurate as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's much more reassuring than and again, it's as you mentioned before, it's so important to remember that this is just a tool. We should not. And I mean, the good thing about content generation is that it's content generation, right? It's like we mentioned, it shouldn't do anything as harmful.
It shouldn't.
Again, it
But once
shouldn't.
again, the outputs, if you don't have that evaluation piece, it could be about anything. And
True.
people, when you have that kind of prompt engineering where people are just like, what if you did this? And that's when it starts to get a little bit spooky, where I saw a group of people that were playing around with something like ChatGPT, and they were saying like, okay, what if you just had this whole prompt, but then threw in the word Hitler? What would happen? And it's scary to see people experiment that way, but that's, unfortunately, they're just experimenting. Someone might say like, wait, if it can do that, I could push some really scary agendas out into the world, you know? And so the content generation, yes, in theory, it won't cause too much harm, but we've seen what misinformation can do on the internet, and
Yeah.
so we want to fight against that.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to say, that the biggest threat would be misinformation. That
Yeah.
if it would be if it would be fed with untrue data. Oh yeah, and by the way, what would happen if, let's say, let's think about one of the untruest theory in IT. I mean, do you have an idea of something like flat Earth, but in the IT world?
Caching is easy.
Okay, so let's say, yeah, and someone would just push a lot of materials about it. Wouldn't the model start learning that it's kind of true?
That is a great question. And
Not that I want to experiment
right.
the moment when you will open the API or something like this, but
Sure, of course. Well, and I think that's where, again, first of all, we're going to have terms of service that people have to agree to, and if we start seeing people like manipulating the platform in a certain way, we're going to cut that off and make sure that doesn't happen. So there's that element of it. And I think also in general, it would take a lot more than just one person pumping in a ton of videos to change information as a whole. And so this is my like lightly cautiously optimistic view that hopefully that won't actually be a problem. But if it is, I think we're just going to have the guardrails in place to be able to handle someone trying to spread misinformation. And I do think that luckily we have so much training at our fingertips, and there's going to be plenty of people who are actually putting in the accurate information, that one or two bad actors who are just like, I'm going to make these videos in this direction and see where it goes. Hopefully it won't affect the model that much. It'll be a drop in the bucket.
Okay, yeah, because I remember, I think that Microsoft once did an experiment with some bot, and
Oh, that was bad.
That was bad because it turned out that it learned being a horrible being just in a matter of minutes.
I think it was, like within like 2 hours, it was a Nazi, and that's
Ye-
not a great thing.
Yeah, exactly. And just because people wanted to experiment, because that was it. Okay, it's a bot. Let's try where we can push it, what will happen, how it will
Right.
respond. And it was learning. I mean, like humans, because we learn from everyone. And sadly, sometimes it's not sadly, because it's good to learn, but sometimes we learn bad things. And
Yeah.
and,
Luckily,
and,
I
and yeah.
think in our particular case, it's a different beast where like that Microsoft bot that you're talking about, I think it was called Tay. With that one, anyone with a Twitter account could just train it by sending whatever they wanted as fast as they wanted and just completely spam it to heck. With something like this, you have to put in a video and you have to wait for it to process. You have to have an account. That account has to have terms of service. You have to make sure like all of these things are in place. I luckily with a lot of like total spammers and people who are trying to mess with platforms, they're impatient. And so I'm hoping that with the nature of what we're building, that's the
Mhm.
main deterrent of it all. And between like rate limiting and having dedicated accounts and that sort of thing, it's something that we could catch significantly faster than something like that Twitter bot. But again, who knows? Maybe we'll blow up overnight and Beyonce will say, "You're my favorite generative AI company, Contenda," and then we'll have to go from
Yeah.
there.
I mean, at first it would be probably amazing. Beyonce said that we are great, and
And then you
later
have to
on,
deal with all of the
yeah,
people
with the
who
people.
obey. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really, this is. I mean, I didn't thought that our conversation will go so much into this ethical aspect, but
It's a very real thing when it comes to AI that you kind of
mhm,
have to address upfront because so many things right now generate stuff that's untrue or that's straight up stealing. And so you gotta figure out these things early, and I think the approach that we're taking is one that I'm proud to work on because it has that consideration up front.
yeah, and this is. And this is really great, and also the fact that it will also only concentrate on the technical stuff when
Right.
uh, it's, let's say, it's kind of less popular than being like all general and talking about what we have, the flat earth, vaccines, and things like this. We know that this would be just to be honest, now when I'm thinking the words we are using during this talk, I'm kind of afraid if YouTube will block this video or not. I
Oh
remember
yeah,
that. So that,
we said some questionable sentences.
yeah.
React is
Now I
a
started to think.
cool
We'll see.
library.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how YouTube AI works and how it finds those
Yeah.
words and everything. But yeah, really, now I just get thinking about it. Yeah. So and going back to uh, a bit more technical stuff.
Sure.
What what would you like to achieve with Contenda? Which special feature that you personally
Mm.
would like to the best feature on earth that should be in Contenda?
What I would really like to do, and this is again down the line. We got so many things that we have to do, but I would love to eventually, ultimately, someday build some kind of education arm based on it, where we can show people how to make technical content better, where we could say like, okay, you want to use our platform to generate blogs, generate this, generate that, to scale your content. How do you make your content in the best way possible where it will not only speak to your actual communities and be as helpful as it can be for people using your content, but also be designed in a way where the model just can spit it out quickly because it's just like, this is easy. We can pump out content like this, like that. And I feel like we have a lot of potential to teach people how to make content better in general, and I really like the education arm of everything. just because it's fun to teach people. And
Mhm.
so what I would love to do is get people working in that direction where we can improve dev advocacy teams, technical content creators, things like that to build content better and make it more open for everyone, and build some really cool courses that are not just video based but also text based, or also short
Mhm.
form, or something like that. That's something that I think would be awesome, but we have a lot of steps that we have to get to before we can get to that point.
Yeah, but to be honest, such let's call it AI mentoring, because this would be something like
Yeah.
this. It would be amazing on so many levels. First of all, it would have access to so many things, to so much data that we very often just have problems to process on so many levels. And on the other hand, and this is something very important for developers, we wouldn't have to talk with people.
What? But yeah, no, actually, though, you imagine you can have this platform that is helping you generate content, helping you scale it, and you're just like, I have writer's block. I'm not entirely sure what to write about. By having all of these tools at your disposal, you could be just like, maybe there's a library of content. You could say there's gaps in this particular area. Maybe I can make content based on that and improve the education around X topic. I think there's a whole lot of potential there, and this is something that's just kind of in the back of my brain noodling on it. But I think that it could be something that this could be such a helpful tool for people if it's done right, and if we can get to that point.
Yeah, now when you mentioned this part, it could really be amazing, and it would be something totally unique, because yeah, we can have mentors and everything, but first of all, it's much more expensive. Like I mentioned, you have to,
Time-consuming,
and you have to, and really for developers, you have to talk with people. It's weird sometimes. I know how it is. I know how many developers react to the fact that just, I don't know, call this person and talk with him.
Okay.
I mean, I know people who were afraid to order pizza before those apps showed up, like all those Uber Eats or Glovo or whatever.
It's very nerve-wracking. You're talking to I get nervous. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of opportunity there where I like to think a lot about it, but then I have to remember, our API isn't out yet. We should probably get that shipped first.
Yeah, API,
yeah,
website, and all the things around
all of
it.
the integrations, all the things. We explode. Investors everywhere are just like, let us give you money, and we're like, stop it, please. We're just so wealthy. Then
And the Beyonce part, don't
and
forget
Beyonce,
about Beyonce,
of course. Yes.
Yeah, because she will at some point tell that. I mean, it would be kind of amazing if someone would compose the song based on Contenda.
I definitely have experimented with ChatGPT on song stuff, where I'm just like, in the style of Taylor Swift, write a song about JavaScript or something like that, and it's very funny to see the results.
I remember that
because it's not bad. Like it doesn't make sense, but it's not bad.
I mean, Nick Cave. I remember that someone asked Nick Cave what he thinks about the song generated in Nick Cave style, and he wasn't too happy. He said it's just rubbish. But to be honest, I would say it was kind of this dark style, and
yeah, if you want to make a spoof of some kind, it's a nice start. You could work off of that.
Exactly. And I mean, when you think about the words just as another instrument, just like the vocal is an instrument, not what they mean, it might be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Cassidy, thank you so much for telling us so much about Contenda, about AI. And so if someone would like to try out it, how should they do it?
Yeah, so
Wait for
Contenda
the API.
Yeah, the API, it's coming, I promise. So if you go to our website, contenda.co, it's Contenda .co, you can find us there or find our Twitter. It's on my Twitter. My Twitter is Cassidoo, Cassidoo. If you following the Twitter, we're probably going to push out a bunch of announcements there. You could also check out the website, get on waiting lists, fill out forms, that sort of thing. But all of this is coming soon, and hopefully it'll be something that y'all like to use, and hopefully my front end doesn't crash and burn when you start to play with it.
I really hope it will work. First of all, it will work because this is the first thing, right? It will just work, and apart from this, it will. I mean, that everyone will start using it because really transforming videos into written content.
I know. It's a tool that I want to use for myself personally because it's such a pain to start a blog post from scratch on something you've already done. And so, yeah,
exactly.
That is a
because
big part.
Because I did it. I already did it. Why I have to do it again?
I know. You're just like, I know it'll be easy, but I don't want to. So I'll just do it later. And then your blog posts are all like 3 weeks late. Yeah.
At least.
Been there.
I mean, for example, right now, we just had a great conversation. We covered so many topics, and I don't want to write it.
You're going to have to write a blog post. Sucker!
I think I will just try to get onto this API, maybe invitation, and maybe we'll negotiate something.
Perfect.
Yeah. So Cassidy, thank you again for your time. And if you are interested in trying Contenda, go to the website and really give it a try. Like I said, I had the chance to see the results. It's really amazing. So if you have a lot of videos and you really don't want to write it, or you don't have a person who likes doing it, and probably you don't, it's a really perfect solution. So Cassidy, thank you once again. It was great having you here, and thank you everyone for listening and viewing us. And until next time, have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye.